Hey guys, I'm Evan. Welcome to Country View Acres. So today we're going to be starting our new fencing project. So I've got some 2 3/8 oil-filled pipe here that we got all rust converted and painted black. That's what we're going to use as our posts. And we're going to divide this field in half with an electric fence, a 5-strand electric fence. Now the reason we're using 5 strands is I want more of a hard fence. So if I want to keep animals separated from each other, less of a chance of them trying to squeeze through, basically. So the other day I came out here and I measured using GPS from that corner of the fence, 275 feet down this direction. I set a white post and I did the exact same thing on the other side. So I know that I'm gonna have, I don't know, fairly square fence, I guess, perpendicular fence when I make it. So I'm gonna go ahead, we're gonna drive our first post in at this end, and I'm going to leave it 16 feet off of this fence, or maybe 14 feet off of this fence, so that I can put a gate at this end. That way when we rotationally graze, as we bring the livestock around, we have an opening where we can move them to the south side of the field, to the north side at this far end. But let's go ahead, we'll try to get the first post in the ground. I've never done this by myself. I usually have Rebecca, my wife, help me get the posts in the right place and in the driver, so this is going to be a little tricky. I can measure out 14 feet. Oh, it's gonna be under the tractor. Either too high or too low. All right, we're in. All right, we got our little post level here. Get it on the post. I can see the level bubble from the cab from this side, but this side I can't, so I'm just gonna have to keep getting in and out of the tractor to make sure that I've got it plumb. Right on the electric fence, and that's energized. Golly. All I did was turn the wheels and it fell out. Try to use an insulated post here to grab this. Try. Come on. Off the wire. There we go. All right, right there, 5 feet. So we're shooting for it for the pipe. Now we got the first post in the ground. We're gonna go to the other end, put the post in down there, and then we'll be able to see a straight line, or have a straight line between them to set the rest of the posts. So I'm planning on putting a gate at the other end, but at this end it's not needed. We already have a way to rotate them around. We can take them through the gate over there, the white pole barn. We can bring them over here to the winter pasture on that side of the fence, and then we can bring them back out another gate over here and bring them to the south side of the pasture. So we already have a way to do a full rotation. So on this side of the pasture, our new pipe post is gonna go right there, about a foot off of this wooden post. It's gonna go right up against this field fencing right here. But I can't fit in between all of these trees right here, so I'm gonna have to drive it in from the other side of this fence where the cattle are. There we go, 5 feet. So this new divider fence will have a break in it somewhere here in the middle of the pasture, and we're gonna make like a little sacrifice area. So we're gonna have a water trough here. We're gonna try to have some type of a shade or a shelter here for the livestock. and then we will be able to rotationally graze around it. So I just need to figure out exactly where I want to put the posts at that's going to start to mark out this sacrifice area. So now that I've got some end posts and corner posts in the ground, I want to go ahead and start laying out my T-posts. And what I bought is these timeless T-posts. These are made out of recycled plastic. So the post itself is an insulator. So this is made specifically for electric fence, but you can see it looks like a T-post, same shape. And we've got holes, I think about every 3 or 4 inches through here that you thread your electric wire through. And these I bought are 6 feet tall, and they're going to drive them in the ground about 18 inches, so they'll be 4.5 feet sticking out of the ground. And I figure we'll place these about every 20 feet down the field. So let's go ahead, we'll get some of these loaded on the tractor and head out there. I'm gonna go ahead and run a string. That way I can hopefully get everything in straight. Well, these are definitely different to drive in since they're made out of plastic. They do they do sort of bend a little bit when you're doing it. So I'm sure the taller these are, the more like bending and stuff you'll get while you pound them. So I'd say the shorter posts will be the easiest ones to put in. My intention was just to put these in the ground about 6 inches and then drive it in the rest of the way with the tractor. But I don't know how that'll end up going. I guess I'll go ahead and put the tractor on and see what happens. All right, I got my first row of timeless fence posts in, except for one. I had one I couldn't drive in. I tried to drive it by hand. It just kept on bouncing on the ground. By the way, it is extremely dry here. The ground is extremely hard. We haven't got rain in probably over a month or so. And I even tried driving that one post in with the post driver, and that post just sat there and just wobbled back and forth and bounced. I could never get it to go in. But I'm pretty tired right now. This actually wore me out pretty good. So we'll come back in the morning. I think I got a trick to be able to get that other post in, and we'll just continue on in the morning. So I had intended to get out in the field first thing this morning, start working on the fence post before the sun got high in the skies, before it got really sunny and hot. And about the time I went out there to get started, Rebecca called me and she got gotten to the hospital, and then her car would not start back up. So let me tell you this little story real quick. So Rebecca, at the hospital, she works with discharge planning now. That's what she does. She helps discharge patients from the hospital. And her dad, he'll get on all these auction sites. He buys equipment, used medical equipment like wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, shower seats, different things that people may need when they leave the hospital and go home and they're still having mobility issues and stuff like that. So Rebecca takes all that equipment that he gets at the auction, she takes it to the hospital, and when she has a patient that discharges and their insurance doesn't cover something or they can't afford to get a wheelchair, then she normally has these free pieces of used medical equipment that she can give that patient to take home with them. So she had just gotten to the hospital. She had parked it next to one of the entrances along the curb, unloaded a bunch of medical equipment, took it up to her floor, came back down. Her car would not start. So she would hit the start button. It's one of those push button starts. Hit the start button. The car would kind of flash for a second, and then the start button would say run, like the car was running, but the engine actually was not running. So she could not get the car to start the engine at all. So her car's stuck next to a hospital entrance at the curb. So I had to drive to her work, which is like an hour away, troubleshoot the problem. Ended up being a bad battery, which the battery in the car we couldn't find at first. We had to Google it. It's actually under the passenger seat of the car. And so needless to say, I had to make a few trips to AutoZone to be able to get it swapped out because I didn't have quite the right tools. You needed to have deep sockets to get the battery loose and then get it wedged out from underneath the seat. And finally got her car working just fine. And she should be fine to come home. But now it is 12:30 in the afternoon. I'm finally back home and gonna finally get out there and get started. So what I've decided to do to try to get this timeless T-post in the ground, because this ground is really hard, is I'm going to use a regular T-post, and we're going to try to get it to drive into the ground at least a few inches. And if we can, then we'll pull it back out and put the timeless T-post in and drive it the rest of the way. At least that's what I'm hoping. So when I drove in the rest of these posts, like the first 10 inches was really hard, but once you got past that dry layer on top, the last 8 inches it drove in really easy. It's just the surface is so dry. So I'm hoping this works. Man. Woo! I've only got this one in the ground about 3 inches. Did you see that bounce? It's crazy. Try the tractor, see if it does better. Well, I guess I should have drove that metal T-post a little bit deeper because we're still in rock solid ground. Oh, boy, it didn't seem like it was very deep. Still only get it to like push in about 2 inches. Oh, we're there. Good deal. So as I've been driving in these fence posts, I've been checking every one of them. I want to make sure they're all roughly the same height, maybe plus or minus a ½ inch, shooting for 4.5 feet. And this one is 2 inches too low. So I'm going to see if I can pull it back out a couple inches, get it the right height. Now the reason why I want to do that is because of all these pre-drilled holes, all these posts match. So if you have a post that's higher or lower, when you run your wire through there, that wire could be higher or lower than the ground. So I just want to make sure everything matches perfectly. That way the wire all lays out perfectly as well. All right, as we look down our fence row, hopefully you can see our posts look nice and straight. I think they look pretty good. But as hard as the ground is right now, I don't think I want to drive any more posts today. It's actually, there's a chance of rain tonight. And if it does rain, maybe it'll soften everything up and maybe these posts will drive in a lot easier. So I think I'm gonna hold off driving posts, and I think I want to move to the north side of this field. So the other day I came out here, I mowed down the north side of this field, got all that sorghum Sudan grass all mowed down and chopped up, and I think the next thing to do now is to start disc harrowing this, start like tilling up the soil. And it'll be really hard this first pass. We probably won't break it up very much, but I think it'll be a good idea to go ahead and at least try to break it up a little bit before the rain comes. And if it does rain, I think the next few passes of disking will go a lot better. It'll take us 3 or 4 times going over this field before we have it worked up into a good seed bed. But I'm planning on planting this all in pasture grass, and it should look like this side of the field over here next spring. At least that's what the plan is. So right here is the disc that we're going to use, but the problem is I've got all this stuff here in front of it. Some of it's been buried in these weeds that we killed. So we've got an old hay spear here, got a grater blade, stump grinder, bale grabber, we've got the skid steer attachment auger, grapple bucket, and another hay spear. And I wouldn't be surprised if we find something else buried in there as well, but I need to go ahead and just start getting all this stuff moved out of the way. And when I rebuild the firewood shed / equipment shed down there, I will do something, or at least try to plan something out so I can store a lot of these implements in that shed in a way that makes them easier to get to. All right, I've got the disc all hooked up and ready to go. This is an old International disc, 12 feet wide, double gang disc, and then it also has like a drag harrow here on the back, and that's supposed to help smooth everything out afterwards. And this disc, you really need like a minimum of 75 horsepower minimum to pull this disc effectively. And this tractor is only 67 horsepower, so I don't have enough horsepower to pull it fast enough. I can only pull this about 3.5 miles an hour. And really with a disc like this, you really want to try to go fast enough that it's kind of throwing the dirt around and breaking it up. I think you really want to go about a minimum of 5 miles an hour, and I'm going to be going slower than that. But it takes me a long time to go through this field and disc it up. So I think I've got roughly close to 7 acres over here that I need to do. And yeah, it'll probably take me, I won't be surprised if it takes me about 3 hours to get it all go over one time with the disc, 2 to 3 hours. But let's go ahead and get started or it'll never get done. right, I just finished up. I think it's maybe after 7 o'clock in the evening, but I've at least went over the field one time trying to disc it up. Man, this ground is rock hard, and the disc, most places the disc was only maybe going 2 inches deep at the most. So here, we'll just look right here. So right here, you can see where the disc cut right there. So that is right to my middle knuckle. So yeah, roughly about 2 inches deep is all that it ended up going in depth. It's just so hard. And but considering it was only going that deep, I was able to go 5 miles an hour and go over the field. But yeah, this is going to take me a while to get this tilled up. Hopefully we get some rain. You can see the sky has completely changed. We had the front come through, everything. It's 100% cloud cover now, and hopefully this will end up bringing a little bit of rain tonight. If it can moisten this up a little bit, I think it'll disc even better tomorrow, you know, once it soaks that rain in. But we'll just have to wait and see whether it happens or not. But you can see, I mean, when we look at this, it doesn't even uproot the, you know, the grass and stuff. The grass is still rooted. So, I mean, it's definitely going to take several passes to finally get this broken up. And we want to try to get it powdered up as best we can. Less clods, less, you know, dirt clods. This is actually like a clay, mostly clay soil here. It gets really hard. But we want to get it as powdered as best we can for a good seed bed. And the rain that we might get tonight is the only rain in the forecast for the next 10 days. So I think I got a little bit of time because I want to get this all worked up, and I probably won't want to plant my seed until we have the next rain in the forecast. So it looks like that's going to be roughly at least 10 days away. So I've got a little bit of time to go over this several times and get it worked up, but I think I'm done for tonight. So I just looked at my phone, and it is 7:20 in the evening, which is almost the exact time I quit last night when I was putting those posts in. So 2 long days in a row, and yeah, a lot longer days than I'd prefer to put in, but I'm just trying to get stuff done, and I feel like I got a limited amount of time. Now, the reason that is because this fall planting out here, really try to do that at the end of August, early September. We're already into September, so I really need to try to get that planted, you know, within the next couple weeks, 2-3 weeks if I can. But I think that's going to be it for today's video. I'm going to call tonight, try to get something to eat, get cleaned up. So hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time.